Let's have a look at the next slide. Course interaction, as I mentioned, even though this is a recorded course, my aim is to make it as interactive as possible. So I've done this with a little bit of help of things such as the following: ask questions. We have the Q&A section, so make use of it. I personally will answer them, and I will give you the benefit of my knowledge and answer your questions directly. Video content of updates. We live in a changing world. I mean, even the AI and marketing section of this course has been updated and changed so many times just while we're being in the preparation of recording and creating and basically, yeah, creating the course. So that's constantly changing. If there's any major changes, the aim is to do video content updates. Activities. I will also have activities for you to do. So it's not just a case of just a one-way communication. I will give you activities. I will then also show you how to go about doing these activities. And then you'll see this through the use of live demos. And when I say live demos, I will show you examples in real time of how I'm doing things. And then at least when you're watching the video, you can pause it in places, have a go yourself, and obviously try to basically use it to the best of your ability. So you've almost got like a on hand, I suppose, teacher. So at least I can talk you through it. So the steps you're taking, you can pause it in certain places and then just continue and then just use the course in that way. And that's why I think live demos are brilliant because it gives you first hand access in the way I'm doing it. It's not just all about putting things on a PowerPoint or a Google Slides or something like that. It's about showing you what it actually looks like in real life. I'll also be using examples that you see for yourself. So I'm not a big fan of case studies. I mean, I think you've all probably seen case studies, and the thing about case studies are they are exactly that. They're case studies. They're not real world examples. And I believe that you need to have real life examples, either that I've personally done myself or that you can directly relate to. Otherwise, it's just not quite a waste of time, but it's all too theoretical. Marketing should be about doing and getting things done and actually putting things that you've learned into practice. And at the end of each module, or at the end of most modules, there will be a quiz. And the aim of that quiz is just to check your understanding of what I've gone through. I suppose it's more of a reflection on me to make sure that I've done my job properly, but it's just kind of summarizing the key highlights from that actual module. So we know that what you're doing is basically so you've understood the main bits about it. And once again, at the start of the next module, I will go through the quiz questions and the answers and also give you a rationale for the answers. So it's not just a case of going, question one was answer was A, question two, the answer was C. It's not. It's saying question one, answer was A, and this is why. So the aim is to give you, once again, reasoning and rationale to why decisions are made. And once again, as I've said, marketing is subjective. So if you want a challenge on that, or you're not sure, or you think you have a better idea, that's great. Add it to the questions. Keep it as interactive as possible because that's the best way to learn. So, what will you receive as part of the course? In addition to the amazing content, of course, I want to make it as easy as possible for you to take notes, excuse me, look back at what was covered, look back at what was covered in the course. So, to make that journey as easy as possible, this is what you will also have. You'll have access to this course video and the other 20 modules, so you'll have full access to those, and you can watch those at any time that you want. There will also be the video updates. So obviously, my aim is to do quarterly updates or whatever it might be, because obviously we're living in changing times, changing technologies, and obviously we want to embrace that technology because we want to show that we're forward-thinking marketers who embrace technology and use it on your business. So this is what we want, the message that we want to get across to our clients, employers, or anyone that we're doing some work for. But there will be links to resources as well. So I'm not just a case of saying this and that and just leaving it. I want to give you the resources where you can go up to and further understand it or get some more information if you need. There is a copy of the 100 digital marketing terms, definitions, and the platform names. If I'm being honest with you, it's not 100 names, it's probably more than 100. But once again, it's a working document. It's always being added to, it's always being refined and improved. And as we do in marketing, we're always working on the next iteration. But the aim is to always to give you the updated version. You'll have access to the slides to the modules, so if you ever want some bedtime reading or you want to ever go through anything again, you'll have the slides to refer to. We also have and influencer contract templates. Obviously, in this era of influencer marketing, we've created a template which we discuss more in the influencer marketing section. But we have created this template and you'll have access to it. So we'll tell you what should be included, what shouldn't be included, what not to forget. So basically, at least when you're working with an influencer, they know what they're going in, that they're letting themselves in for, and you know what you'll receive and for how long, and basically all the things that go around in terms of from things like the important stuff to how much the person's getting paid and any other remuneration that they're going to get, all the way to just simple things like how should it be worded. So all the simple things, the complex things, we've collated into this template based on what we've learned. Number 7, you'll also get a handout of the slides with, space for notes. Like, when I was studying, the lecturer or the professor would always give some sort of slide deck and then space for notes to be taken as well. So that's what you've also got access to. So you could download those, get access to it. So at least while you're listening to the course and watching it, you can make notes. And the good thing about it is, at least when I'm going through a slide, you can make notes next to that slide. So you're not thinking a couple of days later or even a few hours later, like, oh, what was he talking about at that point? You're making your notes, you're making them next to the slides. So that will be really helpful for you. And finally, what you will get, you'll get a personally signed completion certificate. And the aim of that is just to let you know you've completed the Kaz Laljee digital marketing course, and something maybe you can put on your CV, on LinkedIn, or just something personal to say that yes, you completed it. And I suppose it's a recognition of the achievements and the work that you're going to be putting in. How to access the resources? So the way I do it is I try to make it as easy as possible for you to access these resources. So every module has its own set of resources. They are accessible or available to download. So obviously, if it's a link, the link will be there. If you need to download something, yeah, you'll be able to download it. Each module potentially has a module video, downloadable slides, as we mentioned, downloadable notes with the slides, and then downloadable docs. But once again, as I mentioned, the downloadable docs depend on the module you're doing, and we'll explain more about that shortly. There's going to be a link to a quiz as per module, so not every module will have a quiz, but for the ones that do, there will be a link so you can answer those. There will also be an activity, once again, per module, depending on the module and how much work's involved. And obviously, there are some fun activities that we do throughout the course, so obviously they are per module. And then obviously there is a Q&A area where we'll put the video updates as well, or the links to the video updates. So the aim is to kind of give you that interactive element, but also give you access to resources that you're going to be using. Module specific and other resources. As I mentioned, in addition to what we've already discussed and shown, there are other course module specific resources available, and these are in the following areas. Obviously, there's a bit of an overlap between this and the previous slide. This just kind of explains it probably in a bit more detail. So the links to references, that will be in module 2. The downloadable top digital marketing terms, definitions, and must know platform names. They're in obviously module 2 as well, because we want to give you those earlier on so you can basically maybe have a browse through them, maybe get used to them, just so when we do bring them up during the course. But usually, when I bring up any complex terms or new terms throughout the course, I usually do give an idea of what they are. But this is more just for you to keep, just so you can have a broad understanding. And maybe I don't think you're going to be using it for bedtime reading, but then again, you might be so excited by the course you can't let go of it. A guide to setting up meta advertising. So what we're saying, and then in that you'll get in module 11. So basically, I have a step-by-step process in terms of things I do when I'm setting up meta advertising. I must apologize in advance because it's always been known as Facebook advertising since I started using it about 12 years ago in 2012 or whatever it was. So it's always been known as Facebook ads. They only rebranded to Meta probably in the last 18 months or so. So I'm still getting used to that. So if I say Facebook or Meta advertising, I'm basically talking about Facebook and Instagram ads. A content calendar template in module 14. So content calendar is something where basically that you say this is what our month looks like. Because what happens is sometimes your boss or sometimes the client will want an idea of what content is going out. And then basically, if you have a calendar, which I like to print out, I actually have enlarged them on the wall here. with post-it notes stuck on them. But the one obviously that I provided for you is content calendar template, so you can put on there, and I like to try to color code it. Depending, if you're working in-house, you can color code it by campaign. If you're working for an agency or have an agency, you can color code it by client. So I do mine color coded by client. So that's what you'll see in module 16. And then finally in module 20, there'll be a portfolio template. That is a place where you can keep all the information on some of the examples of the work that you've done. Because I mean, we'll talk more about that later, but the aim is to get you in that job that you want in digital marketing. And part of that involves having a portfolio template, basically telling people what you're good at and showing them what you can do. That's it. But once again, we'll talk more about that later on in the modules, and obviously that's more towards the end, obviously, with it being in module 20. We just, if I'm looking left and right, don't worry, I'm not watching the football or something. It's just that I've got two screens, and from time to time, I'll have different information on different screens. So if you do see me nodding from left to right, don't worry, it's because I'm just checking out what the screens are, what the slides are, and any upcoming information that I'm going to be sharing with you. So, why digital marketing matters? For years now, and even when businesses used to advertise on channels and mediums to communicate their message, whatever it is, marketing's always been about. So whether it be billboards on the street, newspapers, physical newspapers I'm talking about, and physical magazines, maybe the leaflet coming through the door, the posters, radio, whatever it is, there's always been a way that a message has been communicated to you. So the buyer wants to communicate with the people who wants to buy their product, and they have a way of doing that. And as it says there, then and even now, there is no exact way of knowing exactly how many people have seen your message. However, with digital marketing, that all changed. So if I said to you, have you seen any billboards on the street today? Yeah, you'll say, yeah, maybe you saw a billboard in the town centre, or maybe as you're walking down the street. But the billboard doesn't know how many people have seen the billboard. So they used to use words like footfall and traffic to say to you, well, there's going to be 10,000 people walking past that billboard every week. Still, that 10,000 people doesn't say that. They all looked at it. Maybe they were walking past, staring at the phones and didn't even see it at all. But what we're saying now with the onset of digital marketing, everything that we do is trackable. So when my clients say to me, Kaz, what have you done? I can tell them exactly what I've done because I know what I've done because the statistics, the analysis, and the data tell me all the figures. So that's the great thing about digital marketing. Everything can be measured, and that makes it good for us because we can show the clients exactly what we're achieving. Because even when you're watching the football on TV, do you remember the adverts in between? Exactly. You may or may not remember them. Yes, of course, technology is improving and things are going to improve from time to time. And maybe, yes, we will get to a point where all billboards can see exactly who's seeing the billboard, how long they spend looking at, and maybe what parts of the billboard. And I truly believe we will have that technology. But at the moment, it doesn't exist. And the best way to find trackable information is to use digital marketing. And obviously, that's what changed the industry. So the difference digital marketing makes is now we can track the interactions. So that means that from the smallest interaction of someone seeing your ad on Facebook to people actually clicking on the ad, filling out a form on your website, and maybe becoming a customer. So what can we measure? So link clicks. If I see an advert on Facebook or Google and click on it and come to your website, we can track that. We know when it happened, how it happened, on the what platform it happened, and how long the person spent once they got to your website. Website visits, that goes hand in hand with link clicks. So when someone visits your website, we know, all things being equal, and as long as we've got the right tracking information set up, we know where that person's come from in terms of, did they come from Google? Did it come from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Wherever it came from, we know. The time on the website, we know how long someone spent looking at your website and what pages they visited, because this is all, once again, great information because we're learning more and more about the customer, who is the absolute most important person in this whole process. And obviously, we're going to be discussing that in more detail. We'll know the location. So have they done it? Well, yeah, location and device. So were they stood in the middle of Manchester city centre on their mobile device, or were they sat in their apartment in New York, or maybe they were sat watching the Petronas Towers in Malaysia? Where were they? What they were doing? We know this information. People reached. So this, and the example I gave you about the billboard, and if I said there's a footfall of 10,000 people, obviously footfall meaning the amount of people that pass through the area, they'll say there's been a footfall of 10,000. What we can do in digital marketing is say this is how many people were reached. So the amount of people that saw your advert on Facebook, we know that exact number. We're not saying the people who became customers, we're just saying people who saw the advert. We can see video views, how many people watched the video, how much of the video did they watch as well, because watching a video for 3 seconds is a lot different from watching it for 60 seconds. So we can work out different things there. How did they react? Did they like it? Did they heart it? Did they show an angry face? Or did they do something else? What was their reaction? Comments, yes, we can track comments. Mentions, so obviously if someone mentions you on Facebook or on a social media channel, yes, there's ways of picking that up. Yes, they have to tag you, but there are also other ways where you can understand sentiments, or some of the bigger companies use it so that you don't even have to tag them. So, for example, if you're talking about Tesco, which is the number one supermarket in the UK, if you mention Tesco in conversation, um, they know that you've mentioned them even if you've not tagged them into it. So if you're on X, which is formerly Twitter, and I'm talking about Tesco, even though I've not tagged them in, they've got software that checks that. And once again, we'll be talking more about that later on. We can see if the email's been opened. So if we've sent out an email marketing campaign, we know how many people have opened it, how many people clicked on it, how many people unsubscribed from it. We have all the information and data. And we also know how customers found you, what purchases they made, and there are lots more. I mean, like I said, this is not an exhaustive list, but what we're trying to say is that it gives you an exact data. And as it says there, this gives us exact data and means we finally know which channels are working the best for us and how we should allocate resources. So what we're saying is, if we know that everyone who comes from our if we know that we've been running a number of different marketing channels, and we know that anyone who clicks on our website who's come from Instagram, only they buy. The people from Google are not buying. So you can see if that's giving you that information, then you know for the next iteration, because once again, in marketing, we're always looking to improve. And to be honest, that's great because it keeps us in a job. Because if you just had to do marketing once and it's done, they wouldn't need marketers. People would learn to do it themselves, do it once and forget about it. But the great thing is in marketing, we're looking at the next iteration. How does it improve? How does it get better? And basically, how do we get the best results? Because no business ever says to me, no, don't worry about it, Kaz. We're making enough money now. We don't want any more. That's very, yeah, very unlikely yeah, very unlikely to happen. And to be honest, in all my years in marketing, it's not happened so far. Success stories. So, as I said, you may have already read some of the LinkedIn reviews about my teaching style and positive experience that people may have. But the main thing about it is, and the main point I want to get across is that these are real reviews by real people on a real network. These aren't just on my website. These are, I mean, you might even be connected to some of these people, or maybe like the first, like a direct connection, or a second, or a third, as they have on LinkedIn. But I want you guys to have the same experience as well. So when you got when you're in when hopefully when you're enjoying the course, you can get the most out of it, because at the end of the day, I want you to go on to achieve great things. So at least I can say if someone's done my course and you end up being the marketing director at Tesco or Walmart or some other massive company, at least I can say yes, that I feel like I had a bit of a hand in their journey. But yeah, the main thing is if you've read some of the reviews on LinkedIn, that's what I want to do. I want to have that positive experience, and I want you to enjoy the teaching style. And once again, I'm always looking to improve. I always say I'm a better marketer. I'm a better marketer today than I was yesterday, but not as good as I'm going to be tomorrow, because we're always wanting to improve and better ourselves.